TUED began in New York City 5 years ago. We felt that the energy trends and the emissions trends are so horrific that we need to assert confidently and with utmost determination the need for public ownership and democratic control over energy systems. Since then, we've actually built up a strong US presence, particularly with the unions that oppose the Keystone Pipeline. We're about 60 unions now from 21 countries. The green growth model of mobilized private investment in the green economy, of talking about the great profit-making opportunities of green transition, this is not working. It's not producing the transition that we need.
For us in Friends of the Earth, ownership of energy is absolutely fundamental. It's about who owns the energy system, who owns the means of energy production, and who controls it. And I'd urge you, when you talk about ownership, not just to think about municipalization or state ownership, although that's really important, but also to think about cooperatives and community ownership. I don't say one over the other, but they need to go together, and there are excellent ways that they can go together.
The Labour Party in its election manifesto had for the first time begun to develop a truly radical energy programme, and one which met the public mood. You know, the idea of bringing our energy system back into public ownership is supported by up to 80% of people.
A really historic motion was passed unanimously by the trade union movement to support and lobby for the public ownership and democratic control of the energy system. It also had things in there around industrial strategy and just transition, around divestment of fossil fuels from pension funds. But as we all know, as good as any motion is, it needs implementing, and it's how we now take it forward.
In Australia, we're seeing the breaking down of the privatisation dogma in the energy sector. That's mainly as a result of increased prices to the point where energy prices are the #1 political issue. So there's a mood for change. The Conservative government in Australia is now using that mood as a reason to say we need to intervene in the energy market by building new coal-fired power stations. Bill Shorten is the Labor leader, and he came out and made some statements about saying that there needed to be an honest conversation about the role of privatisation in the energy sector. And this is a really, really significant step for the national leader of the opposition, the alternate PM, who's 10 points ahead in the polls.
Post offices are often the largest retail presences in countries, and probably very much suited to the Canadian reality. If you have an electric vehicle, you cannot drive across the country. You cannot charge because there's such a low population density. Nobody is ever going to put out a charging station in the private sector. So we think that's a great argument for public services and the value of universal public services.
The government of Quebec built its energy and climate change politics around carbon trade, around eco-fiscality, all financial kind of ways. And they had this brilliant idea to develop recently fossil fuels and shale gas to finance transition.
700 of the richest people on the planet, that wealth could actually be used to power all of Africa, all of Latin America, and most of Asia with 100% renewable energy by 2030.
Lo que venimos discutiendo es la importancia y la necesidad de una aproximación entre movimientos y los trabajadores. Se realiza a partir de diferentes perspectivas, con diferentes estrategias, intentando ampliar lo más posible nuestra actuación, ¿no? Y la resistencia.